How to have good communication in a marriage relationship. That's the topic of today's video. And if you need additional resources to help you with your marriage, visit hopeformymarriage.com and download the free Marriage Rescue Handbook. Anyway, what we want to get into today is how to have good communication in your marriage. And it all begins with taking ownership of your communication. You can't control the way your spouse communicates, but you can control the way you communicate. And so one of the things that we want to focus on in taking ownership is, number one, we want to make sure that we are hearing correctly what is being said to us, that we are understanding what is being communicated in that dialogue, and then third, that we are listening fully and completely, not thinking about what our response is going to be or our next statement is going to be, but really being in the moment and allowing those words to sink in, to be assessed, to be considered, and then responding at the appropriate time. One of the things that I work with couples on in counseling is this idea of active listening. One spouse speaks, the other one silently listens, trying to understand what is being communicated. The way that I have that spouse respond is by really repeating back what was just said. And often this conversation will look like this. What I heard you say is, whatever the statement is, am I understanding you correctly? And so that gives the first spouse the opportunity to adjust what is being said or to add further emphasis or further explanation so that the understanding is elevated. But again, I have to take responsibility as a listener. I'm going to be responsible for hearing what is said. I'm going to be responsible for considering what is said. I'm going to be responsible for speaking back what I heard said. And if I find that I have not heard correctly or I have understood incorrectly, then I'm going to allow my spouse the opportunity to clarify what is being said. Now, the second piece that we want to really focus on is there has to be an agreement between you and your spouse of how communication is going to take place. Is there going to be a set time for certain conversations? Are we just going to talk in the spur of the moment? And what I mean by this is we don't have to plan out every conversation, but these deeper problematic conversations that continue to come up over and over and over again, those are things that probably need to be planned for. That tonight when we go to dinner, we're going to spend time talking about this particular topic. Do you agree? Would that be a good time for us to undertake that discussion? Remember, relationships are built upon agreements. And so if we can agree how we're going to proceed, if we can agree how we're going to communicate, then what you find is the communication goes much better. Now, if you want to take this a step further, if you really want to get serious about your communication, bring a notepad with you and take notes while your spouse is speaking so that you have it written down, you are listening to it, and what you're going to find is your retention level goes up, but it also sends a message to your spouse that this conversation is extremely important to you. So those are just a couple of quick tips you can use to improve the communication in your marriage. Hope you find those helpful, and I'll talk to you again soon.